right? Ramadan is not about going from fasting to feasting.
One second.
Yeah.
You're saying that non-Muslims fast better than Muslims.
Bro,
This is why I don't go to Asian mosques for Taraweeh, bro. Because uncle to my right is burping those samosas in my mouth.
You don't have to do cardio to lose fat.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's another subject in and of itself.
okay.
And I actually don't recommend it.
And I lost weight like nothing else. And I even became taller. Used to... Bro, wallah, I went a few inches taller, bro.
However, we are saying 6 out of 10 people are fat.
You're fat because you're lazy.
So you have some
Yeah.
vacancies.
We need to cut that part out. We're not including that. We're
We're
not doing that.
If one parent is overweight,
Yeah.
the probabilities of the child being overweight increase significantly.
Someone very close to me came to me and said, bro, you are fat.
If I didn't go Taraweeh, I'm not going to go to the gym.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of AAA Talks with your usual Muaz.
Yeah.
Sayf.
And today we have a special guest with us, Brother
Azad,
MashaAllah. So Azad here is actually a glorified personal trainer, online coach, fat loss expert,
Mashallah.
muscle building. I told him to wear a tight t-shirt, but he's a humble man. But he's a muscle building expert, muscle building guru. I hope I haven't oversold it.
definitely oversold it. Tight top I couldn't do today, but bro, it was way too cold.
Yeah.
I need to get a nice warm overshirt. But yeah, thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome. So today, a few talking points, guys. Of Ramadan coming very soon. It's the typical questions that everybody asks every year. What do I have for iftar? What do I have for suhoor? How do I maintain my weight loss? How do I maintain my muscle gain? What do I do to lose weight in Ramadan? And all of that stuff with it. Bro, kick us off. Iftar, suhoor hacks. What is the most thing that you would say affects the Muslim community when it comes to like Ramadan and weight loss or food?
Wow, you've thrown so many different questions at me.
Okay, sorry.
Where would you like me to start? Ramadan. Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about Ramadan. So, of course, I have to preface this with the fact that Ramadan isn't necessarily a month to hit personal bests. It isn't necessarily the purpose of our fasting isn't necessarily weight loss in and of itself. However, we have to also take that and compare it against other communities who do use fasting, right? And you guys, I'm sure, have all heard of intermittent fasting.
Yes.
And that's an umbrella term in which various types of fasting is included. So you have 5-2, you have the alternate day, and then you have something called time-restricted eating, which is ultimately what we do in Ramadan.
Okay.
Right?
16-8.
The times can vary, but obviously in Ramadan we have our own timetable, right?
Yeah.
So typically speaking, when somebody does something like other communities, or when people do this for health benefits,
you'll say non-Muslim
communities,
okay,
right?
all
But
right.
this has become trend quite recently, I think, in the last decade, not before that. So
More so, definitely, yeah.
I was going to say, they didn't used to fast from, I think,
No.
2010 onwards. Because they had some research and science and proving it, and they
That's
came
right,
to
yeah.
say, look, really helps the body. And
Okay.
things like that, yeah.
So the non-Muslims found that fasting works.
Well,
Careful.
within a health paradigm, obviously it's become more prevalent, right? However, from a religious perspective, now of course that's not my lane, all other communities have fasted, but for a health purpose now, especially in the West, we can see like a lot of these guys are fasting and really promoting intermittent fasting in its forms or whatever it may be. But typically this is where they take, let's just say, a 14-hour window and cut it down to about 8 hours. So your 8 to 10 eating time might be 12 to 8 or something like that.
Okay.
And generally what that does is it restricts how long you can eat for, and naturally people reduce their calorie intake by about 300 to 500. This year I think we're going to be fasting in a window of around 11 hours
Yeah.
or so.
Which
give or
is
take.
way shorter than what we did last year.
Yeah.
But what's the
17
science
hours?
behind the fasting? Does it actually change the body dynamics on how you burn fat? compared to like not just eating less, because obviously when you're fasting you're not eating calories and the calorie deficit's there and overall throughout the day. But I'm talking about generally, does the body change, you know, like how you go into keto mode if you have beef or if you have just meat? Does fasting for 12 hours change your body dynamics?
It can do it. Again, that would depend. So your body has primarily two sources of energy, one being carbohydrates, the other one being stored fat mass, right? That can happen, and that depends on the period of fasting, and that also depends on
how fat you are.
no, how much carbohydrates you may actually have in your body at that period of time. But either way, whether you use like fats or lipids for burning and using it like your energy in the day-to-day, or whether that's stored glycogen, what actually matters is your net caloric deficit or maintenance or surplus, which will determine whether you gain or lose weight or stay the same. Because even, for example, when you are in a fasted state and let's just say you've used fat mass for energy, what will then happen is when you're not in a fasted state, your body will compensate and then store that when you eat as fat. So overall, at the end of the day, at the end of a 24-hour period or 72-hour period or whatever it may be, what will determine whether you lose weight or gain weight is whether you're in a calorie deficit, maintenance, or surplus.
Okay.
But coming back to the point about fasting, right? And how we're using like this time restricted eating, and we find in Ramadan a lot of people, or a lot of the brothers I speak to at least, is that they have this sense of anxiety. Am I gonna put on weight? You know, how am I gonna lose muscle? And these are typically the two things that they have a lot of anxiety.
I've been
around,
there.
Yeah. So if you think about it, the people who are doing fasting for health reasons, they create a 300 to 500 calorie just through, cutting down that period of time, right? Now, if you are going to eat, on top of what you're eating, and us Muslims, we have this mentality, we go from fasting to feasting, which I feel really doesn't embody.
But 300 to 500 calories for fasting that period, you're saying?
Which is how much they would cut down their calories.
Yeah, that's their
when
deficit.
They use intermittent
That's like
fasting.
2 samosas.
That's like one big sambosa.
One big one.
And the Somali one's the size of my face, right?
Oh, sambosa.
Sambosa.
I done the research on the samosas, by the way. You Somalis copied us. It came from India first,
bro.
Look,
Never did. Don't try
swear,
it.
look, read the history, bro.
Sayf,
Alhamdulillah, bro. And the longi as
Got
well. That
our own
was ours.
samosas, bro. We started it.
You know that thing you were
I'm
wearing this
joking.
morning?
Nowis,
I don't know.
In fact, you're Bengali, bro.
So wait, you're
Wallahi,
saying,
you
wait, let me get this straight.
No,
You're
I just wanna
saying,
say it
one
for a
second,
fact. Yeah.
you're saying that non-Muslims fast better than Muslims.
Not in those words. What I'm trying to say is we as the Muslim community who are suffering with obesity and being overweight right now, right? So the national average rate is about 64%.
Does it apply to us, though?
Right?
But
Well, you know what? It's interesting,
Yeah,
right?
does it apply to us?
I think
does
it's
actually.
worse
So-
for us. Yeah. Let him land, bro. Let
So
him.
yeah,
No,
to shed some light on that, if
Yeah.
you look at statistics of people being overweight by ethnicity, right? They haven't done it by religion, but ethnicity, black African, black other, they have the highest rates of obesity with around 70%.
Seriously?
Yeah,
Yeah,
70%.
bear grease.
So we are talking
oily food.
7 out of 10
really heavy
people.
oily food.
They're Asian people or black people, did you say?
Black people. They're the
No,
highest.
bro.
Yeah, seriously.
Like in the gym, they're always the fittest, bro. They got the
Mashallah,
mashallah,
yeah.
mashallah, Allahumma
So
barik.
that's West
Well,
African, not East
yeah, no,
African.
that's
It's a
next
mixture of
question.
them,
Yeah.
right? Asians are around 57%. So-
Source, who done this study, bro?
You can go.
Look at this guy asking for Dalil,
Nah,
you know.
seriously, bro.
By all
What
means-
my eyes see can't be lying.
By all means, go ahead.
I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah.
Government
Yeah,
website.
especially when you say Black Caribbean background as well,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I felt like
yeah. And Asians rank what?
Asians for adult obesity, we're not as bad as the national average. So
Okay.
national average is like 64%.
Yeah.
Asians are around 57. However,
Okay.
we are saying 6 out of 10 people are fat,
mashallah.
socially speaking, right?
I wouldn't say mashallah.
It depends, actually. Some cultures view slightly overweight people as doing well in their life and success.
You know what?
You know, if you're really skinny, yeah, you failed in life.
See, I think this is the thing. This is precisely the thing that
Do you think it's like it
podcasts
carries
like
over
this-
from the old generation?
look, the brother said culture, right?
Yeah.
What is culture? It's a societal norm. It's a behavioral norm. Why is culture the unquestioned convention? if that is what's allowing our slow demise, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing all of you brothers are married.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, you know, some
Okay.
Let's go.
But you have
some people prefer
see,
to use the
you-
term. It's
I
complicated.
see. You have some
But yeah.
vacancies.
We need
I-
to cut that part out. We're not including that. We're not doing that.
Okay.
Let the
Okay.
brother carry on.
Yeah.
The brothers. The
Sorry,
brothers,
bro. There's a bit of havoc here, but
That's
this
fine,
is how it
that's
is.
fine. The brothers have some vacancies. That's
Yeah.
what I understand.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone has
Probably.
vacancies.
Think about what kind of dilemma that creates. If 6 out of 10
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
are fat,
Yeah.
right? Or overweight. Sorry, let's be more clinical.
Yeah.
know
No,
what's
no, we can say fat, no problem.
Okay. Clinical. And
Yeah.
this is not fat shaming.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
been
yeah.
through a journey myself. Right.
Yeah.
I've been overweight.
You've been fat before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, can I
lost
actually
about 40
mention-
kilograms.
Me and Azad were on the same fat loss program.
Mashallah, you were fat, mashallah.
Well, I mean, I was overweight. Yeah. I think we were we both in the
You-
hundreds.
You hit over 100 at one
You were,
point.
you're like,
my
nah,
he-
just you.
At my heaviest point, I was 100.
Yeah.
Okay, you was
I was
100
around.
heaviest.
105,
Yeah,
100
yeah.
something. 60.
Mashallah.
Now I'm
That's
about
excellent,
60.
bro.
Listen, we need to see some
Six.
before and after
But,
pictures later.
yeah.
It's
But-
serious. Mashallah.
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
happy to share them. But yeah, and this is one of the reasons that I do what I do. So I was stuck in a particular place. I was overweight and I didn't like where I was. And by the way, I was exercising. I wasn't a lazy guy, right?
Yeah.
But there were these things that we just took as, normative behaviors and just carried on doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it creates a dilemma for us. Not just us, it's a generational thing because if one parent is fat or overweight, sorry, let's go back to clinical terms. If one parent is overweight, the probabilities of the child being overweight increase significantly.
Is that genetic or is that environment?
It's a combination of both,
Okay.
right? Because being overweight or obese is a multifactorial issue. It's very complex. It's everything from socioeconomics to culture to genetics. Now, a lot of... Sorry, go on.
Give us one example of like how your culture could affect your relationship with food.
Okay. So let's just say, for example, me from a Bengali culture, right?
Yes.
All day we fast, right? And when we're fasting, we're going out. There are capitalist entities are now cashing in on our spending habits, right? You go to any supermarket where it's a Muslim populous area, there's all of these special offers. And as much as I appreciate the diversity, I can't help but think they're kind of cashing in on our spending habits, which shouldn't necessarily be there.
Yeah.
So we'll go and shop in abundance, and then when it's time to break fast, we're eating the greasiest. You're Bengali, bro.
Yeah,
The
but
gre-
Mashallah.
we're
I just said,
eating.
where's his village? So that's how we, you know how you do your tribe thing
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the village. So
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Balasuni.
Balasi. Mashallah.
So we're
كيف حالك؟
Balasi.
Inshallah.
Sorry, go on.
That's all right, bro. I wish I knew a few
Wallah,
words
this
in
guy.
Somali.
They say something in Somali, bro.
Yahya, ilahi ka'absun.
Waria.
Yeah,
go.
No, sorry. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, it's only a few words.
So
Somali
Don't
words.
worry, I'll
iftar.
teach afterwards, inshallah.
So you were
So-
saying iftar
A typical iftar.
is
so
a mad one.
It's a mad one. So
Yeah.
I created an infographic last year Ramadan, and hopefully I'll be putting it out again. Like as to the typical things that we eat. So we'll start with samosas, pakoras, some fruits, some dates, maybe some milk, and then that's just the beginning part.
The shamayim and paratha is standard, bro. That's
standard
one of
in
the
your
things
house,
I have
yeah?
to have.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
It's
your
like a sweet
yeah.
thing.
That's
you know
your
what
daily
shamayim is
calorie
like?
intake,
And
bro.
then-
Right
Yeah.
there.
And then there's
Ali with some paratha. Oh,
Yeah.
that's just that fast with some dates and that.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then you got the
and then-
samosas.
samosas is definitely there,
Yeah.
and then we're going on to heavy plates, right?
Yeah,
With
madness.
carbohydrate laden, fat laden, and then
Puddles of oil, bro.
Kisuri. You know about
Yeah,
kisuri?
kisuri, chana, which is chickpeas.
Yeah.
What was the other thing? Dalibora. Dalibora is my
Pakoras,
gosh, yeah,
yeah.
that's something else. The pakoras is like a lentil pakoras. Lovely. Sorry, man.
So
Yeah, this
Reminiscing.
is why I don't go to Asian mosques for Taraweeh, bro.
this,
Because Uncle to my right is burping those samosas in my mouth, and I
This is
can't
the
handle
thing.
it, bro.
this is the thing,
Wow.
and so
you just had a dig.
so this is one of the ways in which culture's contributing. Like
Yeah.
this is like a standard behavior. This is a given thing
Yeah.
that you have to do, and our
But I've got a counter to that.
Go on.
Now, I go Bangladesh quite often, once a year for the last 6-7 years, right? So I've seen a lot of Bengali people and things like that. The Bengali people back home, right? Most of them are fairly fit. They
Yeah.
don't have a lot of fat.
overweight obesity rates in Bangladesh around
that's-
24%.
But that's maybe because of their intense labor activities and
But also the weather.
The weather might.
Would you say the
Weather
would
not so
add to-
much.
You
Again,
burn
Exactly.
but you do burn calories in heat. Like if
Nah.
you're in the desert.
Come on, bro.
Come on, bro.
Come on, bro.
The body needs to cool itself down. You're burning
Come
calories.
on, bro. What?
Akhi.
Maybe 5 to 10 calories a day.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Right, are you only gonna believe that if
Let the expert talk,
Go on,
please.
brother.
probably not a significant amount more to, make to tip the scale such that they become slim, right? People in Bangladesh, as you said, are more into manual labor, or they are walking about a lot more. And also, we are plagued with like abundance, right?
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
go on.
I'm gonna tell you a story. My dad,
Yeah.
my uncles, and things like that. Now they gave stories of when they were younger, in their 20s, and said, I used to have 3 khatals. You know what khatal is?
Yeah,
A
yeah.
jackfruit,
Jackfruit,
massive things
yeah.
like that. He used to yam it up, bro. That the amount of calories one whole khatal has. Imagine having 2 or 3. Now I don't know if it's exaggerated. And they used to have rice. Like they said, they never used to have much curry because curry with the fish and the meat and all that was more expensive. So they used to have a lot of rice with some curry and eat that. And they used to have like platefuls of curry. Rice. Okay. These men had not even a little bit of fat on them. Okay.
Yeah.
So
There are contributing factors to all of these things, right? And
Yeah.
as you spoke about, look, they didn't have access to meat, fish, and all of those things. Maybe they weren't eating 3 square meals a day, right? They were in manual labor, right? Somebody described like our predicament right now, like, cactus, right? Cacti.
Yeah.
Cacti in the desert, it can, absorb all of this moisture and things like that, right? From the air and whatnot, and it survives, it thrives. It's suitable for its environment. They say we are now like cacti in a rainforest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because of all the things that are available to us. And you can't open your phone except there's this whole food influencer extravaganza, right?
Yeah.
Come with me, guys. We're gonna go to my favorite restaurant and da 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 da. And this is what you see. You just can't escape this what is considered an obesogenic environment.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's-
obesogenic. I like that
Great
word.
term. Great
So-
term. Yeah, go on.
And we just can't avoid that. Now, for example, like your father or your uncle, he would have probably need to climb that tree and get that fruit or walk a few miles, right?
Yeah.
With the tap of your phone, how many calories do you expend?
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're fat because you're lazy.
No,
That's
but
what
okay,
you're
check
saying.
this out. Yeah? Let me tell you one thing.
And that's not what we're saying.
Check this out,
Movement.
yeah.
You're saying-
Complexities. Complexities.
Yeah.
For example, I work in the construction industry, right? Guys move around a lot, but they're still fat.
Yeah, but they're eating their
What
full
does the
English and 2 Snickers
so-
bars
so
dipped,
not
dipped into
really,
their
bro.
tea, bro.
No.
Come on, man.
They eat quite healthy as well, but they're quite like they're fat, they're big. They
Okay.
do not lose weight. They struggle losing weight. What's that? What causes that?
What's the issue? So you know what?
Yeah.
Let's talk about thermodynamics.
Okay,
First law of thermodynamics, guys. What is it?
tell us.
Actually,
We're out of our depth now. Everyone's like, please.
they did teach us this in school, right? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It can only change forms, right? If you consume more than you burn, then you're going to put on weight. Yeah. Now, people don't realize how easy it is to eat and how difficult it can be to consume. For example, for me to burn 300 calories, right? I might need to jog on the treadmill for like 30 minutes. 30 minutes. 300 calories is one cookie from Starbucks, or not boycotting Starbucks, but
Of course, 100%.
one of those coffee shops.
Free Palestine.
Right? Free Palestine all
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
But how long would it take you to consume 300 calories?
Yeah. A minute. 30 seconds.
The average builder, for example, you can demolish that within like 10 seconds if you really tried, probably,
Yeah.
right? The average builder guy, I don't want to like stereotype anybody,
just say it.
but
Yeah.
using your example,
Yeah.
maybe he's starting off with a full English.
Yeah.
So
And that's like 1,500
1,500,
minimum.
yeah,
Do you think fat shaming helps people lose weight?
definitely not.
Huh?
And
Because
definitely
it helped me. Someone actually, I was actually really fat when I was 18, 19. I would say I was well overweight, and I wouldn't share those pictures. Anyway,
Yeah.
someone very close to me came to me and said, "Bro, you are fat." And they said it in such a way that it caused me some hurt, bro. And what happened was I went on a diet, and the diet was just semi-skim milk and jogging. And I lost weight like nothing else. And I even became taller. Used to... Bruv, wallah, I went a few inches taller, bro.
that is
No, so what I'm trying to get to is like sometimes harsh love gets a result, bro. Yeah.
So, brother Sayf,
Bro, there's a lot to unpack there.
Ah.
Azad, please.
that's one hell of a story.
Yeah.
One hell of a diet. And I can say you've demonstrated that it's quite a unique proposition to you. I don't think most people just drink semi-skim milk. And
Just trying to
run.
be as positive as possible.
Seriously, bro.
So there have been studies on this, right?
Yeah.
And look, to be honest with you, I strongly disagree with all of these fitness trainers, right? Online coaches who are adopting this toxic Tate-like persona, because this is what marketing gurus tell them to do, right? You be controversial, you're gonna have a following, you're gonna play the algorithms, right?
Yeah.
And they use things like fat shaming and things like that from people who are actually giving them their bread and butter, right?
Great point.
I find it very hypocritical because statistically speaking, that's very counterintuitive, right? For most people, at least. Now, one person might have this realization, but compassion wins every single day of the week. And the thing is, understanding somebody, their issues, whatever it may be. And this is one of the things that I do in my coaching, that I can give you a diet plan or I can give you an exercise regimen. However, that hasn't really solved your issue. Because you may have been overweight for a particular reason. You may have been trying to self-medicate with food. You might have been going through emotional issues or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
So
you become a therapist, bro.
It's akin
Food
to
therapy.
therapy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
akin
yeah.
to therapy, right? And because in coaching, you have to combine a whole different number of frameworks to try and help the person.
Can you at least agree that there's different approaches to achieving that goal of fitness? Like sometimes the softy approach works, but sometimes you need to be harsh. Pyramids were built with like whips.
Yeah.
It doesn't get done that
Actually,
easy.
it's quite controversial how pyramids were built, by the way.
It's an interesting analogy, and our Egyptian brother has obviously demonstrated why maybe that doesn't exactly work.
Gins.
But
Please.
look, brother, say
Sorry,
by all means. No, I appreciate the curveballs. No, what I was going to say is that doesn't work for the majority of the population. And in coaching,
No, you're professional, mashallah.
Yeah,
But I'm
thank
just
you.
saying sometimes yeah.
So in coaching, look, sometimes we have to have hard discussions with clients who don't listen. They are delusional. They're like, we're
Yes.
not doing this, right? Or I haven't eaten this, or I haven't done that, or they're lying to me sometimes. They're lying to themselves.
Yeah.
And you have to sit down and you have to say, okay, bro, did you really just eat that salad?
Yeah.
And although that's not what I'm typically recommending, that you eat salad.
Yeah.
But for example, if you are 75 kilograms overweight, no exaggeration, and you are telling me that the only thing you're eating is salads, or the things that you're showing me, and you're not losing weight, then you are telling me you are somehow defying thermodynamics. I mean, let's take your
You're lying.
take your let's see what's in your body. Maybe we're gonna cure famine in places where they don't have food.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
if that's what's happening.
Amazing point. 1 second, sorry. What would you say are like big misconceptions when it comes to losing weight? Like, okay, so you mentioned salad. So salad is
Salad is one of them.
Yeah.
Look, first things first. What I would say is,
Do you believe in diets?
No.
Okay, good.
No.
Okay, let's expand on that.
Yeah. How we can expand on that is, I'll ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Hold on.
Every naturally competent slim person that you see in the world, are they slim because they're on a diet?
No.
Are they slim because they're doing keto
Nope.
or waterfall or potato?
But that's genetics, though. Some people are gifted better. I've seen people go to the gym for years at a time, and I've looked at the guy. Wallahi, I've looked at the guy. He's going 5 times a week to the gym. He looks exactly the same. His body hasn't changed. He still looks like that mediocre average guy. He doesn't put on muscle mass. He doesn't lose weight. He's never getting a six-pack. He just looks like the guy, normal guy.
You know
like
why?
You've been going for years to the gym. You look the same, brother.
You know why,
And
Sayf? It's
yeah.
up here. It's up here. He's probably running for that 30 minutes, burning 300 calories on the treadmill, and then rewards himself with a Krispy Kreme, which is 450 calories.
Yeah.
It's all in the
So-
mind, bro.
Yeah.
It's a relationship with food and lifestyle.
The other point about genetics, the brother said about genetics, right? Okay. When you say genetics, what do you mean? Like your genetics, your genes are somehow creating calories?
No, look, I'll tell you what it
Do
is.
you see what I'm trying to say?
West African brothers, okay, if you've ever seen them, they're, mashallah, blessed quite a bit. On the East African side, they go a little bit down, okay? And then when you go more towards Asia, they go even more down. Like they're in terms of
What are you
muscle
talking about?
mass,
Muscle mass,
in
height,
terms of muscle mass, not so much
speed.
height. Height differentiates between people,
Okay,
tribes, and
you're
whatever.
talking muscle mass and fat mass.
I'm talking about muscle mass, and also just the just the shape and physique. You can see what is good and bad.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm trying to say? Have you seen some?
Of course, we're all born with a certain type of genetics, right? And of course, that will determine how much muscle mass we put on and so forth. But genetics, the way in which these things work, ultimately, what influences you more are your behaviors and your environment and the things that you're actually consuming on a day-to-day basis. Now, let's just say you may have fantastic genetics, I may not have great genetics, but the stimuli to both of us is the same.
Yeah.
We should roughly be in and around the same. However, your body will respond much better and you look much better. But if you and I are eating the same food, given that you and I, physiologically in the same state, same height, etc., we shouldn't be that far apart in weight. So you wouldn't, for example, be 50 kilograms overweight because your genetics are that much worse, if that makes sense. Because as I said about thermodynamics, right? Genes in and of themselves do not create calories. However, genes do make us have tendencies. Like you, for example, you're having a party. You'll see this kind of behavior more prevalent in children, right? You're having a party, you bring in some cake. Some kids are like, meh. Other kids are like, cake, right? Food behaviors. Our genetics do have obviously an influence on our food behaviors. Some people they really are into their food. Some people are like hungrier. And this is where our genetics can come into play. As opposed to my genetics inherently make me fat. Does that make sense?
You don't believe that?
No, I don't believe that somehow you have a gene which will make you put on weight even if you are eating at a caloric maintenance.
What about the idea of people burn fat quicker than other people? You know?
When you say burn fat, you mean lose
Some
weight?
people,
different people. So again, this is something I see on a regular basis. Different people lose weight at different rates, and that's because of what their, again, genetics could play a part. And genetics goes into bodily composition. So for example, if you are somebody who has more fat mass but also has more muscle mass, the probabilities of you losing fat are probably going to be more.
Can I say something? Can I say that in terms of the fitness of it, there is so much, and alhamdulillah, like I've been going to the gym for a long time, from the age of 18 and now 20 years old, so many different times. And in that time, subhanAllah, there's so many different training methods. Everyone comes up with a new one, there's so many different diet methods, and there's so many ideas, and then there's so many sciences and researches that counter the other ones. So a lot of this, I think, hasn't got a conclusive answer to it, and there's still a lot to learn about the body, the eating habits, and however not. But 3 points perhaps you can make that will say that this is what is going to make you lose weight. Like for me, in those 20 years, I'll say, look, eat less, train a little bit more. That's definitely going to get you a balanced approach to that.
Absolutely. There are, and as I was saying earlier, that there's been research to say like 70% of the information online regarding health is either incomplete or inaccurate, right? And I think you have to go with scientific consensus. There may be opposing views, but we're learning, and nobody knows everything. I mean, people at the forefront of this research do not know everything about the human body, and we're still learning, right? However, the basic facts, established facts, we cannot escape. So, for example, about creating calorie deficit. Some people will say, no, it doesn't matter. It's about hormones and so on and so forth. Creating a calorie deficit, moving a little bit more, eating a little bit less, reducing bad fats, for example, in your diet, saturated fats, in particular for communities like us who suffer from high cholesterol, diabetes, and other metabolic syndromes, right? Those kind of things are really helpful to us. Very basic, very simple advice.
Okay, so you say the top three: move more, eat less, calorie deficit.
When I say eat less, I mean, so what I generally advise the brothers who join me is I say to them, eat in a balance.
Okay.
Nothing is off limits. Life shouldn't be a diet, right? You can't live like that. You have to eat everything essentially, and that's sometimes that gives you greater nutritional adherence. However, we do need to learn how to eat.
Okay.
So all of us that have sort of grown up learning to eat, and eating is a learned behavior, right?
With the hands or knife and fork.
I'm talking about in terms of have we were never, we as a community have never been taught this much food is good for you. Yeah, this is what you
100%,
should be.
100%.
This is what a portion size is.
Actually, what's the best practice for Ramadan?
Best practice for Ramadan.
Yeah.
And this is again what I say
good
to
question.
all of my clients, that you have to eat with your values in mind, right? Ramadan is not about going from fasting to feasting. That's, you know, like you might be embodying the letter of the law, but not the spirit, right? Eat with your values in mind. So when iftar comes, know that you're going to, in an hour's time or so, you're going to go and stand, and you want to pray. You want to maximize that time, right? So you don't want to be uncomfortable. You don't want to be belching. You don't want to be constipated later on in the day. Eat with that in mind. Follow the prophetic sunnah. Alhamdulillah. Like that in and of itself definitely will suffice, right? But however, if you need, for example, more practical steps, what I would say is plan your meals. Have a conversation with family. Say, look, guys, this is what we're going to eat. Shop with that plan in mind, right? Include plenty of fruits and vegetables in your nutrition. Focus on eating sufficient protein. So for those brothers who are training in particular, right? I recommend, you know, something, it's a calculation, but for people who are trying to maintain muscle mass, about 0.65 grams per pound of lean mass is what they should be consuming.
Okay.
That might sound complicated.
So somebody who is 80 kilos,
So let's just say,
how many grams of protein is that roughly?
so somebody, an easier calculation to do might be to go by your
Pounds.
height.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So let's just say if you're a 5 to 8, 5 to 10 guy, you're about 176 centimeters.
Yeah.
Aim for around, if zero times that by 0.65, aim for about 120 grams plus
What
of
if you're
protein.
6'2",
Yeah.
120.
60, mashallah. 150.
So 120 grams of protein in one go?
No, throughout, split in your meals.
Okay.
Right. And you might be consuming 2 to 3 meals. Right. Typically, that's what happens in Ramadan. I think that's what typically happens anyway. But we have an 11-hour eating window this Ramadan, which is plenty.
Yeah.
I would say split that in 3 meals, 2 meals if need be, and consume that.
Well, if a brother looks, some brothers can't avoid feasting because they like, I fasted the whole day, I need to eat out. But if you had to eat out, can you choose between suhoor and iftar? Which one would you go for?
Just to finish the point about for brothers who are trying to lose weight, for brothers who are trying to lose weight, what I would recommend, or sisters, consuming 1 gram of protein per pound, or 1 gram per height. So for example, if you're 170 centimeters, approximately 170 grams of protein in and around. It might be difficult to calculate these things. You know, this is where we read nutrition labels. But for example, 1 tin of tuna has 25 grams. 200 grams of breast, which is like the size of my palm, has around 40 grams of net protein in there. But you were talking about self-control, self-restraint.
Yeah.
You know, it's always difficult to put yourself in a situation and then expect to behave in an angelic way. So, you know, what I would say is, again, you as a person, anybody who's on a health journey, they have to determine exactly what they want, right? And if, for example, they're trying to lose weight, then of course those behaviors have to conform to that. And this is where I say, look, your values, right? This is where values are really important. This is where environment is really important. So what kind of, your environment is not just the things that you're around, but it's also the things that you see, the people that you hang around with. I'm not saying get rid of your overweight friends, but you know, if somebody's pulling you a particular way, maybe work it out. But yeah, all of these things contribute. But at the same time, you know, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, there's a time for this and there's a time for that. Does it mean you can't eat out? Eat out, but be sensible. Choose leaner proteins.
Third and a third, basically.
Third and a third and a third is amazing.
Okay. Okay. You've mentioned the eating. What about for those who want to train? What about for those who want to? You said maintaining muscle mass. Okay. To eat the level of protein. What about actual training? What time of the day do you recommend those who want to do cardio and lose fat? And what time of the day do you recommend training for those who want to build muscle?
Firstly, you don't have to do cardio to lose fat.
Oh,
Yeah, and that's another subject in and of itself.
okay,
And I actually don't recommend it as a modality to try and lose fat.
okay,
What will ultimately help you lose fat is being in a caloric deficit.
okay.
Secondly, you asked about the brothers who want to train. What is the most ideal time? You know what? It's an individual thing. It can vary. What I will say is sometimes are more optimal for others depending on what your goals are. And this applies, let's just say, to the average person who has a training history. So let's just say, for example, you are somebody that goes to the gym always, all year round. I would say what we need to understand and implement, and this is known as two compartment fatigue and fitness model, right?
Okay.
In sports science, they use this.
Okay.
So, for example, in boxing, when a boxer has a fight, he goes into training camp, and then he comes out of training camp, and then he has an easier period, right? So they use these rest phases. Somebody who's going into Ramadan, they can use rest as a strategic way of recovery. So this is what you typically call a deload phase. You can use Ramadan, or at least parts of Ramadan, as a deload phase, right? At the end part of Ramadan in particular. So if you're going into Ramadan training, depending on what time you're training, again, as I said, it can be quite tricky. So if you're somebody who's training just before Iftar, that's probably the most dangerous time of the day because, again,
Yeah.
you are
Your
dehydrated
energy
and so
levels are
forth,
low.
right? Your glycogen levels are depleted. You have the least energy. Just be careful. What I would suggest is you listen to your body, and the way you go about it is you can reduce the intensity. So there was a study done in 2011 by Fisher and colleagues, and what they said is for you to lose significant muscle mass or strength, you need to be not training for a period of around 2 to 3 weeks. So if you have a 2 to 3 week break, you're not going to lose all of your gains, but you may not feel as hard as you do, when you straight come out of the gym and you've got that pumped, right? You've got that pump. But so you won't lose that much muscle, but that you can use that period of recovery to get stronger. Anyway, you can reduce intensity by reducing volume or reducing, the duration of your workout. Let's just say, for example, you bench press 100 kilograms 10 times. You might think about reducing that down to, let's just say, 5 reps. If you are doing compound exercises, a lot of compound exercises, right? Things like deadlift and squats and things like that, which are multiple joint exercises and work multiple parts of your body. This is where you may want to be a little bit careful because some of those exercises, they mimic something called the Valsalva maneuver, where you create a lot of internal pressure, and then your nervous system tries to regulate itself, and sometimes your blood pressure drops, and sometimes you see people passing out after doing deadlift and squat and things like that, right?
Wow.
More so the deadlifts, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be careful because obviously if you pass out, your fast can be broken.
Yeah.
You can change compound exercises for isolation exercises. And in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, where actually the gains aren't in the gym, or actually the whole of Ramadan, but in particular the last 10, right? We're in the last leg of the race. You definitely may want to consider laying off the training a little bit, focusing more on the ibadah and using that time as a strategic rest where it's not even so much of an active rest. So maybe the beginning part you can work out and start hard and whatnot, but then the end of it also have a better rest. But again, that's down for every individual to manage that. Personally, I train throughout Ramadan. I implement a rule for myself, right? And the rule that helps me is if I didn't go Taraweeh, I'm not going to go to the gym. Because my health has to fulfill a higher function.
So what does a day of Azad look like? Come on, akhi, tell us the secret.
A day of Azad. So
in Ramadan.
In Ramadan.
In Ramadan.
Okay. So I overlook a deaf services charity. Plug in Al-Ishara, guys. Look into it. We make Islam accessible to deaf.
I was gonna say that, guys. MashaAllah, sign language expert.
MashaAllah.
MashaAllah.
So
you are the CEO of Al-Ishara, big charity. Was it the first charity for deaf Muslims?
So we are the leading charity in the UK, if not the world, who makes Islam accessible to deaf people.
MashaAllah.
Through various different means.
Amazing.
Everything from translating the Quran to taking people for an accessible Hajj and Umrah and so forth. So I work in the charity sector, so my day is very busy. Wake up in the morning, It's all about getting to work, planning the day, seeing what's happening in Ramadan. I could be anywhere doing anything from helping organizing an event to having strategic meetings with our marketeers or organizing staff. But before work, for me, this is where I'd go in and get a gym session, right? That works for me. I find
Talk about
dead.
after suhoor.
No,
Like after
suhoor.
Fajr.
So you're fasting. The morning of you fasting. You're in the gym.
The morning of my fasting, I'm in the gym, right?
Interesting.
MashaAllah.
I'll be dead.
It's very.
I've tried it before.
it's
It's
very-
just very tiring, very exhausting.
Yeah, I'm finished for the rest of
Yeah.
the day.
You know,
But I
I-
guess
I-
you train in moderation, though.
I train in more. Last Ramadan, I felt I got stronger in the beginning part of it, right? And that's because I was eating a meal later on in the day. So I was having suhoor. I can't remember what time it was. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
If I now go and train 9 o'clock in the morning, right? Usually I train fasted. I'm talking about outside of Ramadan.
Yeah.
I eat breakfast after training. I actually felt stronger for the first couple of weeks. And then, so that's how I started. But again, I listen to my body. I'm quite in tune with it. I don't get dizzy or anything like that. You can feel like you get a dry mouth. But when you've done wudu or you've had a shower, that all goes away anyway.
MashaAllah. Yeah,
I'm
that's
gonna carry on about my day. And the rest is the same as you guys. Eating iftar, spending a little bit of time with family if there's any time, going to tarawih, etc.
MashaAllah. MashaAllah. Well, we're gonna have to wrap it up. Before we do wrap it up, Jazakallah khair. Thanks so much for coming on, bro.
Barakallah.
I hope the people that are watching and us ourselves are actually taking this on
I
board.
loved it.
Yeah.
And it's quite refreshing to see a different side to things. But actually, everything you said, it seems like this should be a lifestyle implementation.
Absolutely.
Okay, before we wrap up, obviously, guys, like, subscribe, share the video, share it with somebody that you think will benefit going into Ramadan, if they want to regulate their food, their weight loss, their muscle gain, all of that stuff. Before we finish, just think of a word. For those who got to the end of this podcast, to the end of this episode, drop this word in the comments below. It has to be something related to come on, let's brainstorm here.
Fitness?
Come on, we could do better than that.
Life.
Life?
No.
Steroids?
Steroids.
We never spoke about steroids.
I know we did. Just the fit.
Healthy Ramadan.
Healthy Ramadan.
Healthy Ramadan.
Healthy
Okay,
Ramadan.
all right. Guys, drop it below. Healthy Ramadan, inshallah. All right,
Let's go.
so we're signing out. We've been AAA Talks. We'd like to thank our guest Azad
Triple
here.
A. Inshallah.
Signing out, Muaz.
Assalamualaikum.
Yahya.
Safe.
Azad.
Until next time.
Assalamu
Assalamu
alaikum.
alaikum.